Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 25 of the WeCOACH podcast on Wisp Sports. Every 2 weeks, we go one-on-one with some of the best women coaches, administrators, and industry leaders in the world of sports for insightful and inspiring conversations. I'm your host, Megan Kahn, Executive Director of WeCOACH. This podcast is a co-production of WeCOACH and Wisp Sports. Today, I get a chat with Utah head volleyball coach Beth Launiere in her 30th season at the helm. With over 500 wins to her name, 15 NCAA tournament appearances, and recognized as the AVCA West Region Coach of the Year 3 times, she has built Utah into a perennial top 25 team. Beth, welcome to the WeCOACH podcast.
Thank you, Megan. I'm happy to be here.
Appreciate you taking time in the middle of your season. I know you got a lot going on right now.
Not too much, We're just getting ready for a match versus our biggest rival this week and then heading into the Pac-12. But never, there's always time to talk volleyball and philosophy and coaching. And so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, biggest rival and what, a Final Four competitor last season.
Yeah, they've got a great program. Talking about BYU, but we've had great matches through the years, and it's just a great competitive rivalry. And we're really looking forward to we get them at our place this year. So I think it'll be a great match.
So when this drops, and you just mentioned it, getting ready to go into conference play, can you give us a little quick hit of what we can expect?
Yeah, the Pac-12 is doing very well in the preseason, winning a lot, and hopefully, raising all of our RPIs as we head into conference. And I think Stafford is the perennial, leading program in our conference. They won the national championship last year, and they returned 5 of their 6 starters. So they're going to be great. And then after that, it's going to be very interesting. I think there's a lot of programs that can kind of vie for that, 2nd through 6th spot. And we were picked to finish 5th preseason. And there's just a lot of good volleyball in the Pac-12, and it's a grind every night, but really fun competition. And every single night you're being challenged, and it brings out the best in you. And so this season won't be any different for sure.
For sure. And it looks like even what's happening around the country, it looks like there's a lot of parity across the top 25 this year.
There's so much parity in the sport of volleyball. It's wonderful. I love it. One of the things I think you might ask me is, where do I see the sport in 3 to 5 years? What I'd really like to see is a different team win a national championship, because there definitely are some perennial powerhouses, but there's so much parity now than there used to be. And so I think that's an exciting time for volleyball. And then also, of course, that, we want a female to win the national championship. That does not happen in our sport, which is a travesty. So I think there's a lot of exciting things happening in the sport of volleyball in the future for sure.
I didn't set you up for that, but I'm glad you said that.
I figure that's an important topic with this podcast.
So who's going to be the first woman to win it?
Well, that I do not know. So, there's a lot of great women coaches in our sport. There's certainly, Mary Wise at Florida has been the flag bearer for women in our sport for a long time. And but there's so many good young and up and coming women coaches, and they're starting to get into programs that are putting money into their program, and certainly I think have a chance to start making those moves. And so it's not if it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, and we're definitely on a great trajectory, I believe.
And I think I just read volleyball is now the most popular sport among high school girls. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of studies that show that. There's a lot of information that talks about women, girls in sport wanting to go into volleyball, and they stay in volleyball, and club volleyball is very big. So, it's a wonderful sport. So whatever sport young girls decide to play, it doesn't matter as long as they're playing sport. That's what's important.
That's a good point. So let's go back to I want to know how you got started in your coaching career. So you graduate and then you go on to Fair State right away. Talk about, did you grow up knowing you wanted to be a coach? Did it happen by chance?
I knew I loved sport. I always remember I'd read the sports page when I was young, and it would make me cry. I'd be emotional about any story, and I thought I would probably go into health and physical education as a teacher. But I actually got into a degree program in college that I loved. Had a great professor in economics and business management. So I got my degree in that. But I tell a funny story. I went to my first job fair in the business world, and I left that knowing I absolutely was not going into the business world. So I had the opportunity to go to Ferris State, and I had a great mentor with Jill Hershinger, and we were very successful. We went to the Final Four, and so that propelled me to another great program as an assistant coach at Illinois. And again, we went to the Final Four. So I really got to work under great coaches, the great Mike Hebert at Illinois. And so, then it set me up for, coming out to Utah at a very young age. But I felt like I was set up for success with having some great mentors.
I know you become a head coach out at Utah at 25, 26 years old. Looking back now, do you feel like you had a clue what you were doing?
No, not at all. I thought I did at the time, and I had a tremendous amount of confidence. So I think that was good for me. I believed in the 5 years I'd spent as an assistant under, again, great coaches. I had a strong, vision of what I wanted to do. But honestly, looking back, I just worked really hard and learned a lot as we went. But, I do things a lot different now than I did back then. But I had some confidence, and the administration was great. They had a vision for the program, and they worked very closely with me as a young head coach. I'm so fortunate to have had great mentors in my professional life.
Well, and when you first went to Utah, you were in the WAC, and then
yes,
and then Utah transitioned to the Mountain West, and now to the Pac-12. So those are two huge transitions. Can you talk about, looking back, kind of some of the greatest lessons you learned along the way in those transitions?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll talk more probably about moving into the Pac-12. I can't hardly remember the transition from the WAC to the Mountain West, but I knew going into the Pac-12 that our program had to grow and that we had to, get better, obviously. But the path that I took and the kind of belief system was that we had to unturn every aspect of the program and get just a little bit better in every aspect. Because I believe in having a full rounded program, not just, go out and have a good team here and there that can sustain itself. So we spent a lot of time digging and, figure where we get better. And boy, there was a lot, whether it was recruiting, whether it was, technology, whether it was, just figuring, we didn't have a director of volleyball operations before we went into the Pac-12. So we added personnel, we added, stats and video people, and just the whole scope of the programs changed so much. But I thought we did it in a really nice, diligent way that helped us to sustain to slowly gain success in the Pac-12. And now we've been able to sustain it for a while. And so I think we did it the right way, and that was important to me.
Well, and speaking of sustain it, not many make it in the coaching profession for 30 years, let alone as many years as you've been at Utah. What makes Utah so special that you've continued to stay?
Well, interestingly, I had the same athletic director for 28 years. And now I just have my second one after 28. So I think that's very rare, obviously. But, I always felt that I was working in conjunction with my administration. I felt that was always important in the building and sustaining of a program. You don't do this alone. You have to have your support on your campus. And so I always took the philosophy that I was going to talk to them about everything. So they were always in the know, and they were, on board with me. And, but Utah has an amazing way to have success when most people don't think that we will. I mean, we went into we were successful in the WAC, we were successful in the Mountain West. We went into the Pac-12 as coming from a mid-major program, and there was a lot of skeptics. And across the board, our athletic programs are doing great. We have a great infrastructure. We have great facilities. Salt Lake City is a wonderful place. And we recruit people that fit what we're about here. And it's kind of amazing that all programs are very similar in that, we kind of get blue collar type kids that kind of love the environment here and just experience a tremendous amount of success. So our teams are doing well, and it's been a really great move for our program and university.
You mentioned the support on campus and the relationships that you build with the administration. How do you prioritize those things, and how have you continued to build upon those relationships, especially now with a new AD, only your second AD in 30 years?
Yeah, very, very quickly, I got in his office and started texting with him, and I wanted to make sure he knew who I was and what I was about, what our program was about. And so I felt like, it was important to sell, it wasn't just him that came in, quite a few new administrators came in. So I felt like it was really important for them to understand my philosophy and what we were about early on. And I think it worked. I think he got invested in the volleyball program very fast, and it's been great. It's been a great adjustment.
Talk about that philosophy. Can you break down your coaching philosophy for us?
Yeah, I can. I've spent a lot of years trying to define it, and as a young coach, you think you have it defined, and it's such a moving target. And at the end of the day, it really has to come down to who you are at your core and what your core values are. And so about 5 to 7 years ago, I kind of created one document that I called it Coaching as an Art and a Science. So that was so important to me because there's a lot of data in the sport of volleyball, but I believe the art part of it and the relationship, people part of it is just as critically important. And so how do you mesh those things? From there, I decided that I needed to get a vision of my program that really encapsulated my program and what I was about. And I wanted it to be very simple. So every player that came into this program was able to understand it, know it, and understand it and buy into it. And so there's three things that I talk about a lot. And that is, one, we're trying to win. We're trying to win at a very high level. At the end of the day, it's why we're here. And so whatever winning at the highest level is, that's number one in my vision, and whatever your team that year can do to their potential. And second is have a program that teaches lifelong lessons through the pursuit of that winning. Through the pursuit of going after big goals is where you learn your greatest lessons. And we're very diligent about that in our program. We don't just let lessons kind of go by. That we have we have themes that we talk about all the time, whether it's, communication and, vulnerability and relationships, things like that help you understand how to be successful. And then the third one is to, at the end of the season, to have a team that loves, trusts, and respects each other. And you go through so many tough times and hard times. If you can come out, strong team at the end, then you've done something well, and the players are probably having a good experience. So I think those three things encapsulate what's important to me. And then I always tell my players, at the end of the day, it comes down to, two things really. It comes down to work hard and have fun. That this experience is supposed to be a great, wonderful experience for them during their, collegiate career. And boy, there's a lot of stress on them these days, and it's hard to remember that this is supposed to be fun. But winning is fun, and learning lots of things are fun. And when you have a program and players and staff that kind of loves and trusts and respects each other, then some good things are going on.
Obviously, over the years, your kids have bought into your philosophy and your culture. How do you maintain that winning culture?
Yeah, it's not easy. I would say the first part of my career here that was really fun because we were building and we were getting better all the time at, just great incremental, rates. And then you hit this, spot where you're going to the tournament every year and you're trying to maintain it. And, we've had some down years, but overall, I think it's just that I do have a vision, and I keep my messaging very clear, from year to year. And, in the recruiting process, parents and players, buy into that vision. And then if they get here and if it doesn't work for them, they can go somewhere else. But for the most part, they know what they're getting when they come here, and they're already bought in when they get here.
So if they're bought in when they get there, right, they come in as freshmen who don't know anything and talk about, then do you have a very strong senior led leadership? How do you select your team captains? I mean, I think that's what a lot of people always want to know, how people select team captains and how their team leadership is.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've actually gone away from having team captains. I think it's more about, I just think that, nothing good came from it, in my opinion. You know, I wanted people that were going to lead. I didn't care if they had the captainship tag, and nor did they often, or if they did, then it was about the wrong thing. So we have a leadership group, but I really believe that every single person leads from wherever their seat is on the bus. So whatever they bring to the program, that's what they have to lead with. And so if someone's really good at, being a hard worker, that's how they have to lead every day. If somebody's really good at kind of comic relief, then they have to bring that every day and be a leader in that area and whatever it is that they bring. So it sounds simple, but it's just absolutely the key. And that's what the roles are all about. You know, at the end of the day, everyone's got to find their place, their right seat on the bus, and find and own their role. And then from within that role, how can they do their part to lead from that seat? So I do have a leadership council every year. I work with them very closely. We use some of the DISC stuff that is popular right now with behavioral styles. And we work with our leaders a lot with that to help them understand, how to work with so many different people in a team. And then, we communicate very closely. We meet once a week with our leadership group, and that can be an evolving group. I actually just had a player who is a senior who wasn't in the leadership group, and she has really matured a tremendous amount. And she just came in last week and asked if she could be part of the leadership council. And I said, absolutely. If she feels like she has something to offer, then she can come into the group. So I think it's a moving target, and it's always evolving, and it's just always about open lines of communication with leadership.
Speaking of evolving, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and guess that your coaching style has evolved over the years to better meet today's student athletes, and they're a different breed than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Can you talk about that evolution and maybe some of those aha moments?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I just, on one of our days off this year, I took my team down to the nicest hotel in Salt Lake City, and we had a spa day. And I got some boosters to donate some money for massages, and we spent the day at the pool. I guarantee you, I did not do that 30 years ago. Number one, we didn't have the money. Number two, I thought that would make them soft, right? Well, the players appreciated it so much, and it was such a great day. So, yeah, I think how I've evolved and changed over the years probably has to do more with, me really, really spending time trying to understand the individual players and what they're about and what makes them tick and what motivates them. And so while I thought I think I had very good relationships with my players when I was a younger coach. And to be honest, it's very organic when you're a young coach and you don't have a lot of assistants. So you're dealing with a lot of things with the players. You're building relationships very naturally. When you get to be a little older and you have more staff and you kind of get separated from your players in terms of helping them with their day-to-day things, then you have to circle back and find ways to work on those relationships. And so I think I've definitely learned that I want them to be more of the part of the process of everything we do. I ask their involvement. I ask their opinion a lot, and I want their buy-in. I want everyone to, kind of feel like they have a really big part of what we're trying to do. This isn't about somebody's ego or, anything. It's just about this, this team this year. What did they want out of this experience? And then get everyone to work on that. So, aha moments. I should have been more prepared for that question. I think I just have evolved in terms of, I think I'm just as intense, but just in a really different way. And that I just want to get work done. I want to be really mindful, and I don't spend a lot of time. I don't think I have to be, as intense probably as I was when I was a young coach. We just try to be really mindful in our gym and get better every day. So.
And you just alluded to it, how many people you manage or how many people that are involved in the program. It does put you more arm's length away from your players. I think people would probably be surprised because, especially in the Power Five, you're basically CEO of a business. How many people do you manage
now? On my direct staff, I think there's probably 6 people that are in our offices on a daily basis, with a lot of support staff that are around our athletic department that we have to, connect in. So we actually do we call it a volleyball we have a volleyball performance team. And this is actually in response to your question before, I actually have changed this a lot to where, because I know I don't have as much access to my athletes as I used to, and there's a tremendous amount of people on our campus, our support staff, that have a lot of access to our athletes. So, the strength and conditioning coach and the academics and the nutritionists and the, you can go down the line. So I believe that I needed to bring them in, to weekly meetings where we are discussing not only performance, but what's the culture of the program? Where are some things that we, have to all be messaging the same across all the different departments within the athletic department. So that's been a big change, and that's been really successful for us. Yeah. So I can't remember what your question was. I got talking off on that. What was your original question on that? You can edit that part.
Well, I was just talking about how many people you manage, because it's a whole entourage.
Oh, yes. Managing. Yes. Okay. So this is a big change for me as well. I got very frustrated when I kind of lost connection with the players, because I got into coaching because I loved coaching, and now all of a sudden I was spending all my time managing staff. And so I actually brought one of our boosters into the program that is an expert in managing and is actually a consultant for top programs or top businesses in the country, and asked him to help me figure out how to manage better, and so I could get back to coaching. And that was my whole goal. And so I've learned a lot in the last few years, and we've actually been kind of doing some presentations about this at the AVCA convention on exactly that, how to manage a staff. And so I've learned a lot about delegation, and I've learned a lot about, what are the things that are above the line that I should be doing, and below the line that I should not be spending my time on, and how to empower staff to take initiatives. And so I've actually spent a lot of time on that in the last few years, and it's really helped me, I think, get back to being myself and being more comfortable and being able to spend more time with my players and not worry about every little detail that's going on in the program.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments. I was trying to set you up for that because you and I have had that conversation. I've heard you speak on it. I think probably a lot of our listeners could take something away from that.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. If you could delegate one job you no longer had to do as a coach, what would you give up?
Recruiting, which I can't. So that's not a very good answer.
Wishful. If only you had a superpower to give it up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I don't mind recruiting. I really actually enjoy it. I enjoy the relationship part of it. And I enjoy having, players and their parents come up to our campus and share with them everything we're about. And I could talk about, our program forever. But it's the grind, and it's the daily grind of hitting the road and keeping up the communications and figuring out how to sell them if we can't get them up to campus and all those things that go on. But yeah, that'd be one thing. Yeah, I've never done some things like when I was young, like I gave travel to my assistants. Like I'm not going to be responsible for 25 people on the road. Like you guys are going to figure out the money. You're going to figure out the hotels. You're going to figure out all that, because I'm not going to spend time on that. And that was something I did early on. It was really good. And I still see older coaches doing that. And I think, is that the best use of our time? I didn't think so. So I kind of was able to early on figure out some things that I didn't want to do, and I never did them. So,
hey, that's important.
Yeah.
Looking back in the rearview mirror, we always have really good perspective. Can you pinpoint maybe one or two of the toughest decisions you had to make?
I think we make hard decisions every day as coaches because they're affecting young people's lives, and so that's what makes decisions very hard for me. My assistants probably get a little bit frustrated with me because I take a lot of time to make decisions, and that I have to think about all the people that it affects, and I think there's major decisions on a daily basis, many of them. So I don't take any of these lightly because I know how much it affects people's lives. So I had to kick a player off that was going to be a senior, and I really liked this player a lot, but she was disruptive to the team, and so that was very hard. And it turns out she's still friends with all our teammates, and I see her all the time now. I think she's in her 40s, and so we have a great relationship. But I thought it was the best thing for the team, and she now admits that it probably was. I had to make a decision and not bring it again. Just if there's players that are disruptive to what you're trying to do as a team, like you have to always put the team first. And so I think the toughest decisions come from that. Like, how do you handle, players that aren't bought in, and our job is to help them understand and figure it out. But at some point, if they're hurting the team, then you got to make a decision, for the team. So those are usually my toughest things to deal with.
Appreciate that. Let's talk about something a little more fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about your trip to Italy this past summer. Tell our listeners about it.
Oh, yes, it was a wonderful trip. I was fortunate to coach a USA collegiate national team that played in the World University Games, and it was a tremendous experience. It was a lot of fun. We had opening ceremonies in Naples, Italy, with all sports. I didn't really know that much about World University Games, but it's all sports. It's the second largest event besides the Olympics. Opening ceremonies had 10,000 people there, and it was amazing. So that was cool. And then we went and played a whole bunch of matches and played against some great teams of college age players, even though from other countries they're not necessarily in college playing their sport, but they're college age. And then we were on the Amalfi Coast. So our Olympic village, the village for volleyball and fencing, men's and women's, was a hotel actually right on the beach. So that was not hard to take at all. And so in between, we didn't get down to the beach a lot early on because we were pretty busy. But once we had some time, it was really wonderful. And we got on the ferry and we cruised the Amalfi Coast, coaches, players, and just had a wonderful time. It was really a great experience.
Amalfi Coast is my favorite place in the world.
Yeah, I had not been there, so I was really happy to get there. And wow, that's a beautiful part of the country. And I love Italy. You can't go wrong with anywhere in Italy.
And you ended up with a tough draw, right? You go 4-2, but still to be able to take positives away is fantastic.
Yeah, we played the host team, Italy, and they had been training quite extensively for that. And I don't know if people understand our collegiate national team program, but we have, it's an opportunity for college players to play within the USA pipeline during the summer, but we don't train a lot, and we just kind of play those 2 weeks. So we were not quite ready to. I would have liked to have played them a little later in the tournament for sure. So it's a bunch of college players coming together. So and then we faced a really good Japan team that took it to us pretty good. But then we really started playing better volleyball. We beat a really good Ukraine team and Argentina, and so yeah, it's all about the players getting a chance to play high level volleyball during the summer, helping them understand as much as possible about the USA volleyball system. We try to teach them kind of principles of the USA volleyball system. We don't try to change their technique or do anything like that, and just help them start to understand what international volleyball is all about. And so I think it was a good experience. And I've coached a number of these things, and I always enjoy doing it. It's kind of motivating for me, and I get to spend time with my peers also coaching with them. That's been a really nice positive thing.
Absolutely. I want to know, what are your success habits?
Success habits. Okay. Well, I've definitely learned that routines and systems are very important. You can't spend time on the small stuff because there's too many big things that you have to get to. And so I've learned to implement for myself as well as my staff, just really good routines and systems that just kind of happen without us thinking too much about it. So I think that's important. And it's very important because I'm actually kind of an emotional, I'm a relationship based, if you go into DISC and kind of emotional coach, but that's why I know that systems and routines are so important for me. And they're not my natural state by any stretch, but definitely important. So I think that's it. I think just having good systems and routines for me. And then I actually take a nap before we do our serve and pass and our pregame meal. And then I go home and I take a nap and I have to shut my brain down a little bit because I know it's going to be a lot of intensity that's coming my way and all of our ways for a match. So I'm a napper and I've been doing it forever. So
do you have a morning routine?
No, just normal. I like to take my time on the morning. I think it's important to start your day out right and eat well, and so yeah, I just try to do that slowly.
Speaking of eating well and rest, you recently publicly came out with your diagnosis of Crohn's disease. Why now? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I had a pretty major surgery about 2.5 years ago, removed part of my intestine. And it was, I started realizing that I wasn't invincible. I've had Crohn's disease since I was in high school, and I kind of ignored it. And, high stress levels is not good for that disease, any autoimmune system disease. So, but I just kind of ignored it, and I would get sick, and I would have, trips to the hospital and, taxi rides, before we played Stafford to go to the hospital, and not really living, the best life. But I tried, and I wasn't doing the best I could. And so when I had the surgery, it really hit me, and I really worked at making some significant lifestyle changes in terms of, eating healthy, balance, and then also speaking about it. And I felt, Volleyball magazine came to me and asked if I'd be open about it. And I never thought twice about it, to be honest, because I think the message for me was how important balance in life is, and for coaches, and how important our health is, and how you have to work really hard at maintaining that. And I wanted to talk about that with younger coaches. So, and then the Rocky Mountain chapter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation approached me and asked me if I'd be a spokesperson, and kind of honored me, and we did some fundraising for that group. And so I'm very happy to be actively involved in spreading the word about the importance of taking care of ourselves from a health perspective. And the good thing about it is I had 3 young coaches reach out to me, volleyball coaches that are early in their career, and they thanked me for going public about it, that they were concerned if they could do it with Crohn's disease, and certainly assured them that you can. And so it was nice to hear from young coaches that are going through some of the same struggles that I went through.
Which I think is amazing. I was so proud when I saw the Volleyball Mag article, and certainly I followed your journey. I've known for a couple of years, some of the things that you've gone through. So congratulations for coming out about it and inspiring others that they can do this.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was, I don't know, you get older, you really start understanding the importance of giving back. And so I'm definitely getting older, and, if I can help young coaches, I've kind of become, it's a passion for me right now.
Speaking of getting older, any timetable on slowing down?
Absolutely not. I think that I am as passionately motivated right now as I've ever been. I'm excited, and I love my team this year, and we have good things going on. And I'm always trying to find new ways to reinvent things, and I think things are going really well. So definitely still going strong. So not looking at any timetable by any stretch. So
good. Maybe you'll be that first woman to win that championship.
Well, that would be wonderful. That would be great.
So we end every episode with rapid fire. I'm putting you on the hot seat here. I'll take it easy. It's fun.
Okay.
If you could use one word to describe yourself, what would you say?
Pretty passionate. Yeah.
What keeps you awake at night?
Worrying about those decisions and how they affect people.
You already told us about your nap on game day. Do you have any other superstitions?
No, I'm not a superstitious person at all. I just don't believe in it. I believe in preparation. And then I believe that there are so many things out of our control in this profession and in life, to be honest, that I try not to spend time worrying about things that I can't control. And so I can go with the flow. As long as I feel like I've prepared, then I can kind of accept anything that comes my way. And so I don't believe in superstitions at all. No.
Who are your role models?
I had great mentors, as I mentioned earlier. So they're my role models are people that have passionately been, mentoring me. So, I mentioned Jill Hershinger and Mike Hebert. In fact, I just had dinner with my college coach last night. She's in Salt Lake City. And so that was really great. So just people that are close to me that have helped me. Elaine Elliott, she was the women's basketball coach here for 27 years. She was a big mentor for me when I first got here as a young coach. So just those people are people I like to emulate and keep as role models.
What's your favorite thing to do on an off day?
If I could go for a hike, I do that. I often go and do yoga because that makes me the most happy is when I can get a yoga session in. Or I like to sometimes I will just take time and I like to just vegetate and kind of get lost in some Netflix movies and series. So yeah, any of those things. But yeah, I like to definitely try to do something that is healthy and that I don't have time for during the season. But then I also just like to get lost in things and not think about volleyball for a while.
Speaking of healthy or maybe not so healthy, if we snuck up on you when you're watching film, what snacks are we going to find by your side?
That's interesting. That's a funny comment because my sisters have been bringing snacks in and I've been eating so many of them. I feel like I've got to stock them up again because great question. I don't know if I think kind of whatever's around. I like chips, but I try not to eat them unless I have a sandwich with them. So yeah, I don't know. I guess whatever's around, I'll snack on whatever's there. And like I said, I need to stock up on our workroom because I'm eating them all right now.
Got to keep those assistants happy and fat.
Exactly. Well, at least not have them pay for my habits. So I got to take care of them.
That's really funny. Thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. I know you're smack in the middle of the season, so anytime we can get with you, we appreciate.
Oh, you're welcome. It was really fun and happy to talk coaching with anybody. So this is a great time. Thanks, Megan.
You're welcome. I have a feeling after today's episode, we probably just gained a bunch of Utes fans.
I hope so.
All right. Good luck the rest of the season.
Okay. Thank you.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with Coach Beth Launiere. We want to hear from you, our listeners. Share your comments on our social media pages at WeCOACH or at Wisp Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show notes for this episode can be found on our show page at wispsports.com. Don't miss another episode. Subscribe to Wisp Sports on your podcast app to catch each new episode dropping every other Thursday. And until next time, all sports, one voice, WeCOACH.